32 countries have come to Winnipeg to take part in the 4-day General Assembly of PASO, the Pan American Sports Organization, which is the governing body for the Pan Am Games. Highlighting the assembly today was an update on how Winnipeg is shaping up as a host city. Channel 5 News Hour's Glenn Cassie has our top story coverage.
There's been some incredible progress over the last few months.
Roger Jackson is a watchdog for the Pan Am Games Committee. His job is to make sure host cities are on schedule with their plans, their projects, and their people.
A number of international federations have visited. The work is ongoing. We're going to be talking with them for another year and a half about the technical programs and so on, but all of it is progressing very, very well.
Construction at a number of venues is already well underway, and now that the city's approved a deal for a baseball stadium, there's one less headache to worry about.
And now that we have the baseball, I think it's a plus for us.
But there's still the question of financing. Although the Winnipeg Committee has just recently admitted they need another $45 million, the Pan Am Committee has known all along.
They are underfinanced. We pointed that out a year ago, that we didn't believe that there was enough money in the budget to actually do it, even to do it as frugally and as well as they're attempting to do it.
But the man in charge of the Pan Am Committee says he's not worried about the funding and offered high praise for the Winnipeg Committee.
In Winnipeg, we are going to host the best games ever.
This latest boost of confidence from the Pan Am Organizing Committee is just what local organizers needed as they try to squeeze more money out of government. But it's a double-edged sword because the committee has also been told that Winnipeg might have trouble hosting the games if they don't get their budget increased. Glenn Cassie, Channel 5 News.
Now, tomorrow morning here in the capital at the official opening ceremonies of the Assembly, Winnipeg will update all the other Pan Am countries on the progress of the 99 games.
Next month, an Ontario bankruptcy court will decide the future of the restructured Edens Corporation. It will also determine whether a controversial $9 million bailout will save Winnipeg's historic downtown store. There's no question downtown Winnipeg needs help. It shows clear signs of decay. But will luring new businesses downtown attract people, or should it be the other way around? Channel 5 News Hour's Lisa Keller looks at making downtown Winnipeg a bigger and safer draw for people.
Sure. As long as it doesn't bark at you.
Darren Huch has operated his hot dog cart on the north side of Portage Avenue for 7 years now. He says his customers' #1 complaint about the area has been panhandling.
Their biggest complaint, the customer, is being harassed downtown, and it's not so bad anymore.
Police walking the beat have helped bring that problem under control. But there's another equally big problem. This has become a sign of the times in the downtown. Vacant buildings, many of them in bad repair. Appearances are important, and this isn't how a healthy downtown should look. It's certainly not how this area used to look.
Many Winnipeggers can still remember when Portage Avenue downtown was a vibrant place filled with people and successful businesses. And many people still insist that that isn't just a memory, but a possibility for the future with a bit of hard work. What are you seeing right now?
Seeing the ghosts of my youth.
A group of downtown business owners has a vision for the future. They say they'll work with government to fix what ails this area.
Downtown needs people, it needs safety, and it needs some vibrancy. The combination of the people and the safety will bring more activity downtown.
The group wants to work fast before the Pan Am Games begin in 1999. They already have specific ideas about parking and traffic, and they're naturally excited about the possibility of a downtown ballpark. Darren Huch says he'll keep his business downtown. He says he sees improvements in the area every year.
The city's doing a good job. I take my hat off to it.
Lisa Keller, Channel 5 News.
The Portage Avenue Property Association is a group of 49 concerned property owners. They want to strike a public-private sector partnership to work out the downtown's problems.
A pair of bank robbers who pulled a heist in the North End this afternoon have a good chance of getting caught red-handed. Just after 1 o'clock, they held up the Bank of Montreal branch on Selkirk Avenue, but the money bag contained a dye pack. Well, it detonated and should leave indelible red traces on their hands and clothing. Police ask you to call them if you see someone with red hands.
Winnipeg Police Vice Division officers have made 3 more busts of marijuana grow operations in the city. About $250,000 of cannabis plants were seized. This is a record year for marijuana grow operation busts. So far, Vice officers have shut down 61 operations and seized $7.4 million worth of marijuana.
The recent suicide of a veteran City of Winnipeg Police Service officer has left many more questions than answers. A police investigation has discovered no clues as to why Constable Raymond LaRue shot himself. The off-duty officer killed himself at the home of the province's chief medical examiner. It again points out the extreme stress that comes with police work, pressures some find hard to deal with. Channel 5 News Hour's Kelly Den has more.
The police have a word for it like everyone else, burnout. But police officers have the potential to do a hotter burn. Their job is stressful, and they're sworn to make life and death decisions. Often they have to make them in a split second.
With the constant sort of looming presence of public scrutiny and possibly public criticism.
Dr. Bill Davis is a psychologist whose only job is to help members and staff of the Winnipeg Police Service. He says there are danger signs police officers have to watch out for.
They are getting worn down. It's affecting their energy level. And it's starting to change who they know themselves to be, or who the people who care about them know them to be.
Davis says stress affects each of the 1,100 members of the Winnipeg Police Service in different ways. He says, though, there is one common theme when it comes to police suicides, namely, an officer who chooses not to reach out for help.
To stay isolated. That's the single most common factor. And I'm not talking about our situation. I'm talking about across police cultures.
Flags flew at half-staff at police stations throughout the city. Police Chief Dave Castle says officers must ask for help to prevent this from happening again.
Members just simply need to realize that while it's a tough profession, they don't have to be macho and just ask.
Police officers are also encouraged to have a life away from the job, something else they can plug into instead of being consumed by the stress they must face on a daily basis. Kelly Den, Channel 5 News.
Now, Dr. Bill Davis has headed the Behavioral Health Services Unit for the past 6 years. It was put in place after the suicide of a police inspector in 1989.
The McPhillips Street Superstore was evacuated this morning due to a potentially dangerous situation. Emergency crews responded after reports of a strong smell of chlorine, a toxic gas. The megastore was evacuated as a precaution, and traffic in the area was rerouted. Well, it turns out that a fire started in a garbage container at the back of the store, and inside the bin were chlorine pucks, commonly used for swimming pools. Residents in the neighborhood, especially along Watson Street, were asked to keep their doors and windows closed during the incident. Fortunately, no one was injured.
Grasshoppers and other insects have invaded 2 regions of Manitoba. Farmers in the Interlake and southwestern Manitoba are trying to save their crops from ravenous wheat midges and grasshoppers. All this hot, dry weather has resulted in a population explosion of the pests. But there's little farmers can do to end the infestation. Our Sharon Wolf will show you how bad the problem is in the Arborg region of the Interlake.
Now here's John Saunders standing by at the Channel 5 News Weather Center. John?
Well, the afternoon has gone from bright sunshine to rather dark clouds, especially in the western sky and in an awful hurry. There have been several severe thunderstorm warnings issued across southern Manitoba this afternoon. Right now we have one issued for an area 40 kilometers of Morris, Manitoba. All others have been canceled at this time, and there's a watch, a thunderstorm watch, that's pretty much out for the rest of southern Manitoba. Right now we'll head back to the live eye and we'll have a live view of what our sky looks like. And as you can see, very dark, and off in the distance you can see the showers in our area. Driving home tonight, rather wet on city streets in some areas of the city and rather dark, so a headlights on drive home. Right now the storm tracker updated and ready to go for you. We're going to look at a broader view of the storm tracker as things move across the southern part of the province, and you can see these storms. They will move in the direction of Winnipeg. Plenty of them up over the lakes and in the Interlake as well. These are the more severe cells still to the west of the city. Some of them out near Brandon are starting to, well, dissipate a little bit, and that is good news for us. Overnight lows right now, it's going to stay muggy in the south, a low of only 20 degrees, and a 30 to 40% chance of some thunder showers across most of the province. I'll have your complete forecast, complete with updated views of the Doppler and storm tracker radars, coming up a little later in the show. Now back to Ron and Barb.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. There's still lots more to come here on Channel 5 News Hour. We'll show you a new service for children on the Internet, programming parents will love.
And have some of your favorite television shows been nominated for an Emmy?
And a little later yet, the government strikes a deal with Portage La Prairie doctors.
But up next, the search for America's most wanted man ends with a suicide.
At 6:30 a.m. this morning, the body of Andrew Cunanan was removed from the scene and delivered to the office
of the Dade County Medical Examiner.
You're watching Manitoba's #1 newscast with Ron Kronstein, Barbara Lee Edwards, Sylvia Kuzik, and Steve Vogelsang.
Hi, I'm from Leon's, and I was wondering if you'd show us your ugliest piece of furniture.
Hi, we're from Leon's. Hello?
They're hiding. Maybe it's the way I look.
Anybody home?
Ow, my foot.
Love your door. Hi, it's Leon's. I wanted to ask you. Are you eating now? You are. Well, sorry to disturb you. Hi, I'm from Leon's.
You know, I think that went really well.
Celery, an edible plant of the parsley family, consisting mostly of water. Served alone, it tastes like water. Luckily, its boat shape is ergonomically designed to hold the unique cheesy taste of Cheez Whiz spread. Always spread end to end, ensuring full coverage. Only Cheez Whiz can spread this easily in such a confined area. Serve in snack-sized morsels. Enjoy. Cheez Whiz. This changes everything. Thank you and happy snacking.
Dive into a perilous sea of adventure.
It's like a roller coaster ride. Thrill a minute.
Where there's danger above and below the surface.
Can I come on? Sure, if you feel up to it.
Sea Hunt, Sunday at 10:30 on Channel 5. CTV News with Lloyd Robertson.
America's most wanted man was found dead on a Miami Beach houseboat last night. But the death of suspected serial killer Andrew Cunanan doesn't mean the case is closed.
Cunanan took his motives to the grave by committing suicide. Now the police will attempt to tie him to 5 murders. We get the latest on this bizarre story now from ABC's Steve Osunsami.
The end of Cunanan's cross-country murder spree came suddenly after a caretaker on board a Miami Beach houseboat reported a break-in and the sound of gunfire on Wednesday.
The medical examiner has confirmed that he has died with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A weapon has been seized. The weapon is a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun.
A small army of police and FBI agents surrounded the home and then threw tear gas inside before moving in. They eventually discovered Cunanan's body on the 2nd floor.
At 6:30 a.m. this morning, the body of Andrew Cunanan was removed from the scene and delivered to the office of the Dade County Medical Examiner. Miami Beach detectives remain on the scene and continue to process that site for additional evidence.
Andrew Cunanan's 5 known victims included a former friend, an ex-lover, a Chicago real estate developer, a New Jersey cemetery worker, and one of the world's most famous fashion designers. Since July 15th, Cunanan was a wanted man, the subject of one of the most intense manhunts in recent history.
I think he was a desperate person with very little room to move about, not only in this community, but anywhere else in the United States.
But the discovery of Cunanan's body does not mean this investigation is over. Many questions remain unanswered, including one most people are asking. Why did he take 5 lives? Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Miami Beach.
Andrew Cunanan's hometown was San Diego, and tonight many there are relieved the killing spree is over. 2 months before the killings, Cunanan told a counselor he would get whoever it was who gave him the AIDS virus. Many feared Cunanan would return home. Here's ABC's Carla Wall in San Diego.
In San Diego's gay community where Andrew Cunanan once lived, sorrow at the news of his suicide is overshadowed by a sense of relief. Many had lived in fear that Cunanan would return here.
I think that's great. It makes us all feel safer.
I'm glad it's over, though. It's a tragic situation, but it's over with, and then just go back to a normal life in Hillcrest.
In Minneapolis, Cunanan was suspected of 2 murders. From their Wisconsin home, the parents of victim David Madsen are grateful that the manhunt is over.
We're thankful that the killings have stopped. Our hearts go out to the victims, to their families. We also pray that God's peace would be with the family of Andrew Cunanan.
In Chicago, the family of victim Lee Miglin expressed thanks for the outpouring of love they've received. Police there are confident Cunanan was their man.
Ideally, we'd like to talk to them and get a confession from him and find out all the reasons why, I mean, throughout the country why he was doing this, but that wasn't to be.
And in New Jersey, a friend of victim William Reese, a cemetery caretaker, wishes Cunanan's death answered more questions.
It may be a blessing, sort of in disguise, to at least try to have some closure to the end of the story. It doesn't provide you with the answers.
It is the why that leaves people here wondering, especially those who knew Andrew Cunanan not as a suspected serial killer, but as a friend. As one friend put it, there was no good ending for this. Carla Wohl, ABC News, San Diego.
And one more piece of information to this story. The owner of that houseboat where Cunanan's body was found is a wanted man in Germany. Thorsten Reineck has been charged with fraud, but hasn't been seen since 1992.
The man considered to be a prime suspect in the 1969 killing of Gail Miller has apparently packed up and left Saskatoon. A Saskatoon newspaper reports that serial rapist Larry Fisher headed west last night in a van towing a U-Haul trailer. David Milgaard's lawyer says the 47-year-old Fisher was implicated by the same high-tech DNA test that cleared David Milgaard in Miller's slaying. Police have not arrested Fisher. They say more investigation is required. Fisher's lawyer says his client has been subjected to vigilante justice before. Fisher was driven out of several cities after he served his time for a series of sexual assaults. Meantime, David Milgaard's mother, Joyce, says she wants a prosecutor from outside Saskatchewan to oversee the RCMP investigation into the Miller murder.
1 week after it began, the doctor's work stoppage at the Portage District Hospital is over. The doctors stopped staffing the ER last Friday in a dispute with the government over staffing levels and compensation. But yesterday, a deal was reached, and the physicians agreed to work an extra 40 to 50 hours a week. Manitoba Health will provide a doctor to staff the ER during the day. The doctors went back to work at the Portage Hospital this afternoon. Health Minister Darren Prasnick says the new arrangement is a short-term solution. The bigger problem will be addressing the severe shortage of doctors at the Portage District Hospital.
I've had a discussion with the mayor of Portage already. We want to involve the community. Manitoba Health is to be able to go and work with the physicians to go out and recruit the 3 or 4 or 5 new doctors that Portage La Prairie will need to meet all of their service areas for the Portage Plains region. So we've got the short-term one under control now, and now that allows us to get on to the long-term issue for Portage, which is finding more doctors.
Doctors in Brandon are not satisfied with the agreement with Manitoba Health. They have been restricting their on-call services since July 1st.
A strike at a GM parts plant in Michigan is shutting down the largest General Motors plant in Canada. More than 3,000 workers in Oshawa, Ontario have been told not to show up tomorrow, and that number could double if there's no settlement by tomorrow night. The strike has already forced the closure of 2 other assembly plants in Michigan.
Postal workers bargaining for a new contract say they're getting nowhere. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers has asked the government to appoint a conciliator.
This development moves Canada Post one step closer to a possible mid-August strike. Now here's a look at the Channel 5 News Hour closing money markets. The Canadian dollar barely moved today, closing down just 1/100th to 72.35 cents U.S. And the price of gold in London closed down $1.90 an ounce.
On the stock exchange floors, the TSE 300 Composite Index in Toronto was up almost 20 points today. And in New York, the Dow Jones Industrials up 28.5 points.
And Steve Vogelstein will be here with our first look at sports coming up next.
And Steve is going to show you who has emerged as the champion after 4 grueling rounds of the Manitoba Amateur Men's Golf Championship.
And coming up later, we'll show you how Canadian doctors are now using computers and robotic arms to assist in surgery.
Life is complicated. Makeup shouldn't be.
Life's complex enough. Thank you, world. Easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl.
Simple. Don't wear makeup that looks like makeup, and don't let it take more than 5 minutes. That's CoverGirl. You're fresh, you're new, and you're out of there.
A fresh idea, fresh face to the world. Easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl.
Some clothes you just don't want to put in the dryer, so you hang them up to dry. And that can be the toughest test of all for Ultra Downy softness. So go ahead. Put Ultra Downy softness on the line. It leaves clothes fluffy soft even when you dry indoors. Look, clothes can be stiff without a fabric softener, but Ultra Downy leaves clothes feeling softer. Come on in to fluffier softness. Come on in.